Domain means which x values are allowed. So all x values have points on the graph. So negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, what y values are hit. Well, starting at -4, that's the lowest x value. So we use the square bracket. And then we go up forever. X-intercepts, where does it cross? It crosses at -1, 0, and 1, 2, 3, 0. Y-intercepts, where does it cross the y-axis? Crosses at -1, -3. Intervals of increase, so starting at what x value does the graph start going upwards? Well, here it's going downward, then starting right here, it begins to go upwards. So starting at x equals 1, and then starting from x equals 1 all the way to the right, it goes upwards, it increases forever. Okay, so decrease, starting from the left, starting from negative infinity, it's going downward the whole time, all the way until x equals 1, which is where it stops decreasing. Axis of symmetry, where can you fold the parabola in half and make it match up? That's the line x equals 1. Vertex, what's the point where the parabola changes direction? This is at 1, -4. Okay, focus. Remember, the focus is always 1/4a away from the vertex. And in this case, a, the coefficient of x squared, is an invisible 1. So a is 1, meaning 1/4a is 1/4 times 1, or just 1/4. So the formula means that the focus is 1/4 of a unit from the vertex. So the focus is always inside the parabola, so it's somewhere in here. So we can see that the focus and the vertex have the same x coordinate of 1, but the focus is 1/4 of a unit above. So -4 plus 1/4 would be -3.75. So the directrix is also 1/4 of a unit away from the vertex, but it's a line and it's in the opposite direction. So instead of going into the parabola, we go the opposite direction. And we know the y coordinate is 1/4 of a unit below -4. So -4.25 for the directrix. Length of lattice rectum, the formula is absolute value of 1/a. So again, a, the coefficient of x squared is 1, so 1/1 is just 1. And behavior, so what happens as x approaches negative infinity? As the parabola goes further to the left, it keeps rising up forever. So it keeps rising towards positive infinity. And what happens as x approaches positive infinity, as the parabola goes forever to the right? Well, it also keeps increasing forever, so it approaches positive infinity. Vertex form, remember vertex form is a times parentheses x minus h squared plus k, where h comma k is the vertex. So we already know the vertex from earlier. So h is 1, k is -4. Okay, so let me bring down the x minus, let me bring down the squared. And a, we already have from the equation. A is the coefficient of x squared, so a is just a 1, so I won't write it. Okay, for problem 2, we have a piecewise function. So g of 0, meaning when the x value is 0, what is the graph at? The graph is at -1. And when the x value is 1, what is the y value? So remember, open circle means it's not actually part of the graph, it's the closed circle. So when x is 1, y is 0. For what value or values of x does g of x equal 1? Well, where does the output equal 1? The y values of 1 are up here. But the graph never actually gets up there. Remember, open circle doesn't count. So never or none. Okay, on the other hand, where, for what value or values of x does g of x equal -1? So that would be down here. So right here, when x equals 0, the output is -1. And also over here, where x equals 2, the output is -1. Okay, so fill in the piecewise function. We know that 2x minus 1 is linear. There's no squared. So this straight piece must be 2x minus 1. So this line, the arrow shows that we go forever to the left. So anything less, it starts at x equals 1, but it doesn't include x equals 1. So x is less than 1 is where the line is active. Okay, and then we see the squared here, so where's the parabola active? The parabola starts at x equals 1, and the closed dot means it actually includes the 1. So we include the equals, and then forever to the right. The arrow shows it goes anything bigger. Fully simplify, so we just need to combine like terms. 3x squared plus 7x is 10x squared. Negative 2x has nothing to pair with, so we just bring it down. 5 minus 8 is negative 3. Distribute and simplify, so everything in this parentheses multiplies everything over here. So 8x squared plus 12x minus 10x minus 15. And then let's combine some like terms. Okay, so we have some long division to do here. So remember, on the inside, we always want the exponents to decrease by 1 at a time. So it goes cubed, squared, first, 0, so that's good. If there was a missing gap, we would have had to fill in a 0. Okay, so how many times does x go into 2x cubed? It goes in 2x squared times. Then what is x plus 2 times 2x squared? Well, x times 2x squared is 2x cubed, and then 2 times 2x squared is 4x squared. So now we subtract. So notice that both terms change sign when we subtract. So 2x cubed minus 2x cubed goes away. That was the whole point. X squared is really 1x squared. So 1x squared minus 4x squared is now negative 3x squared. And then we bring down the next term. Okay, how many times does x go into negative 3x squared? It goes in negative 3x times. Negative 3x times x is negative 3x squared. Negative 3x times 2 is negative 6x. So again, when we subtract, we change all signs. So these cancel out. Negative 5x plus 6x is just 1x. And then bring down this plus 2. X plus 2 goes to x plus 2 one time. So in this case, there's no remainder. So the answer is 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Fully factor. So I know the answer will look like this. How do I get an x squared? It comes from x times x. How do I get a 12? A positive 12? Well, to get a positive product, I could either do positive times positive or negative times negative. But I know it can't be positive times positive because they have to add to negative 8. So to get to 12, I could do negative 1 times negative 12, but those won't add to negative 8. I could do 2 and 6, and that looks like it'll work. Okay, so I can always double check. x squared minus 6x minus another 2x is now minus 8x plus 12. Okay, how do I get 3x squared? That must come from 3x times x. And then how do I get to negative 8? Well, I know to get a negative product, I multiply a positive and a negative, but I see that the term in the middle is positive, so I want the positives to be worth more. So I know that negative 8 can be from 4 times 2, one of them being a negative. So since I want the middle term to be positive, I'm going to pick the bigger number, 4, to multiply the 3, and I'm going to make it positive. Okay, so let's check. 3x squared plus 12x minus 2x is now plus 10x minus 8. Okay, part C, we notice there's 4 terms, one of which is cubed, so we can do factoring by grouping. Just looking at the first pair, I factor by GCF. So 20 and 35, I can take out a 5. X cubed and x squared, I can take out an x squared. Okay, so what's left over? If I factor out 5x squared, I've still got 4x left over. And if I take 5x squared out of here, I have a minus 7. Okay, so now I repeat for the second pair. Negative 8x plus 14, they have a minus 2 in common. So if I divide this by negative 2, I have 4x left. If I divide 14 by negative 2, I have negative 7 left. Okay, so it's important that the two parentheses match. If I had divided by positive 2 instead, this would not have matched this. So that's how I knew I had to do negative. Okay, so lastly for grouping, we take the outside parts and put them in a set of parentheses. And then we take the repeated inside part and just write it a single time. So 20x squared minus 20x cubed minus 35x squared minus 8x plus 14. Solve for x. So if we can factor, that's always a good idea. So this time we bring down the equal 0. How do I get 2x squared? 2x times x. How do I get 3? It could be 1 times 3 or negative 1 times negative 3. I see the middle term is negative, so I want the negative versions. Okay, let's check. 2x squared minus 6x minus another x is now minus 7x plus 3. So that's correct. Okay, so this blob plus this blob times this blob equals 0. So either this equals 0 or this blob equals 0. Because if even one of them is 0, 0 times anything gives us a product of 0. So 2x minus 1 equals 0. Plus 1 on both sides. 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. So x could equal 1/2. Or, again, this blob could equal 0 also. So x minus 3 equals 0. X could be 3 instead. So x could be 1/2 or 3. So for this one, we can try to factor it, but it won't work. So we could either complete the square or use the quadratic formula. And I'm going to choose to use the quadratic formula. And remember, a is the coefficient of the x squared term, b is the coefficient of the x term, and c is the constant. Okay, so plugging in all these values, negative 7, but it's already negative b, so negative 7 turns into positive 7. Negative 7 squared is 49 minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a, and a is 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so simplifying all of this, you'll end up with x equals 7 plus or minus 17 all over 8. Fully simplified.